Your brain has two modes, on and why is it still on? You sit down to rest, and within 10 seconds, your mind opens a new browser window with 47 tabs. Memories, worst-case futures, a conversation from last week you've already replayed 12 times, and, because your brain is petty, that cringe moment from 2014. If that's you, you've probably been told you're a deep thinker. And you are. But here's the twist we rarely say out loud. Deep thinking isn't always a personality trait. Sometimes it's a survival strategy wearing an expensive intellectual suit. Tonight, I want to unpack three things: why your mind won't shut up, why it once protected you, and how it can quietly sabotage your life, unless you learn to steer it. Because the goal isn't to become less intelligent. The goal is to become free. Deep thinkers don't just have thoughts, they have thoughts about thoughts. You're not simply anxious, you're running a post-game analysis on anxiety. You don't just feel awkward, you create a 5-part documentary called What I Should Have Said. Meanwhile, some people laugh easily, love easily, live like their inner narrator doesn't have a master's degree in suspicion. You watch them and wonder what it's like to experience a moment without interrogating it. For you, nothing arrives alone. A smile comes with footnotes, a goodbye becomes a thesis, a K-text message becomes a criminal investigation. And this is where I need to say something really important. This isn't because you're dramatic. This is because your nervous system learned, at some point, that safe is not guaranteed. Psychology has a name for this: hypervigilance. The brain staying on alert long after the danger is gone. So you scan, predict, prepare. You become the human weather app for emotional storms. And yes, it can look like intelligence, but sometimes it's just fear with a strong vocabulary. No one is born with a mind that treats silence like a threat. Deep thinking for many people begins quietly. Picture a child in a room, a door closes, voices rise behind it. The child may not understand the words, but they understand the tension. They read pauses, tone, the air itself. Before they can name emotion, they can detect it. Maybe the adults weren't cruel, just inconsistent, distant, distracted, overwhelmed. But when love shows up unpredictably, a child learns an equation: awareness equals safety. So you became the observer, the adapter, the good kid who doesn't need too much. Overthinking is born not as intellect but as instinct. Your brain becomes radar, thought becomes armor. Attachment theory explains this painfully well. When secure connection is shaky, the mind fills gaps with meaning. You analyze silences, you track moods, you try to solve the mystery of, am I safe here? But here's a crucial nuance, because this matters. Not every deep thinker comes from trauma. Some people are born with temperaments that are naturally more sensitive, more pattern-oriented, more reflective. But even then, the question remains: did your environment teach you that sensitivity was safe or dangerous? Because sensitivity in a safe environment becomes wisdom. Sensitivity in an unpredictable environment becomes surveillance, and surveillance is exhausting. Eventually, you live in your head more than your body. Feelings become puzzles, emotions become data. Thinking becomes home. Fast forward, that child grows up. Now your intellect fits like a second skin, polished, composed, hard to reach through. People admire you, they come to you for advice. You can translate chaos into language. You can find the lesson in heartbreak. But the price tag is exhaustion, because being the one who understands is a full-time job with no sick days. Here's one of the most dangerous tricks deep thinking can play. When someone hurts you, you don't explode. You analyze. You trace their behavior back to fear, insecurity, childhood wounds. You tell yourself you understand, therefore you shouldn't hurt. But understanding pain doesn't make it painless. That's like saying, I understand fire, therefore I won't get burned. Cute. Wrong. This is where deep thinking becomes cognitive avoidance, staying busy in the mind so you don't have to be vulnerable in the heart. You prepare for rejection before connection starts. Not cynicism, self-defense, disguised as wisdom. Neuroscience describes a network in the brain involved in self-reflection and meaning-making called the default mode network. For many people, it quiets down at rest. For deep thinkers, it can stay active, looping, replaying, re-editing life, like you're trying to win an argument that ended 3 years ago. You don't just experience moments, you process them, then process the processing, then wonder why you're tired. And here's the cruel paradox. The more you see, the harder it is to belong. You notice the fear behind jokes, the sadness under "I'm fine," the fragile stitching in relationships. Sounds like a superpower until it becomes loneliness. You crave connection, then overthink it until it evaporates. You crave understanding, and it isolates you. Now add our era. Constant notifications, doom scrolling, and algorithms feeding your nervous system like a toddler with an energy drink. Culture rewards speed, hot takes, quick certainty, bite-sized opinions. Deep thinking is slow, quiet, inconvenient. So you start feeling out of sync. Everyone's sprinting while you're asking why we're running. This creates cognitive overload, a brain overstimulated but rarely nourished. Attention fragments. Inner noise grows. And for a deep thinker, that noise isn't just annoying, it's suffocating. So you mask. You dilute your thoughts. You act chill in a world that mistakes numbness for maturity. But inside, something aches for real conversation, real stillness, real connection. Let's name the patterns, because naming is power. Hypervigilance, scanning for danger even when you're safe. Analysis paralysis, so many possibilities you freeze. Rumination, replaying the same thoughts, hoping repetition becomes resolution. Empathy fatigue, absorbing emotions until your system short-circuits. Cognitive avoidance, thinking around feelings instead of through them. Disconnection, becoming actor and audience, never fully present. If this feels familiar, I want you to hear this clearly. Nothing is wrong with you. Something happened to you, or something shaped you, and your brain adapted brilliantly. But a brilliant adaptation can become a brutal lifestyle. Here's the truth deep thinkers resist. You can't think your way out of everything. Some wounds don't need more analysis. They need permission to be felt. Healing isn't understand harder. Healing is learning to be with your mind without becoming it. Peace isn't the absence of thought. Peace is the skill of not believing every thought. Neuroplasticity is real. Your brain can change, but it changes through practice, not promises. So here are 5 TED-style tools. Simple, not easy. First, label the loop. When the spiral starts, don't argue with it. Name it. Rumination, hypervigilance, future tripping. Labeling reduces threat and gives you distance. Second, return to the body, fast. Pick one sensation, feet on the floor, breath in the chest, the temperature of the air. Your mind lives in time. Your body lives in now. You cannot be fully present and fully spiraling at the same time. Third, ask one boundary question. Does this thought serve me? Not, is it true? Because your brain can prove anything. Serve me. Does it move my life forward? Fourth, turn depth into output. Journal. Voice note. Create. Rumination is trapped energy. Expression is released energy. Your mind isn't a courtroom, it's a studio. Fifth, practice honest connection, not perfect explanation. Say the truth in one sentence. You don't have to present a dissertation to deserve care. Connection begins where performance ends. And if your nervous system is stuck on high alert, professional support isn't weakness, it's maintenance. You don't shame a car for needing service, don't shame a human for needing help. At some point, you trade certainty for presence. You let silence be a room, not a courtroom. Your mind stays brilliant, but it stops grabbing the steering wheel. It becomes the passenger who can read the map quietly while you actually live the drive. You still notice patterns. You still feel deeply. The difference is this. You stop treating every thought like a prophecy. You start treating it like information. Useful sometimes, loud sometimes, not always true. And that's the moment deep thinking becomes what it was always meant to be. Not armor, not surveillance, not a prison, but a gift you can hold without letting it hold you. So here's a 24-hour challenge. When your mind spirals, don't wrestle it. Label it, my brain protecting me. Then return to one real sensation, feet on the floor, breath in the chest, sound in the room. If this felt like someone narrated the inside of your skull, share it with the friend who has 12 emotions and a spreadsheet about each one. And tell me in the comments, what's the loudest thought your mind keeps replaying lately? Because you were never meant to think your way to peace. You were meant to remember you already belong to it.